I'm Paranormal Pete, and I'm on a journey to seek answers to the questions that have crossed all of our minds. What happens to us when we die? Is there an afterlife? I'm a regular guy who discovered the gift of psychic mediumship in my 30s. My passion for history and the unknown have put me right here, right now. My mantra for anything paranormal is, we don't know much and anything is possible. Join me as we find our way through the stories, evidence, and experiences of the paranormal and beyond in search of answers, even if that leads to more questions. Are you with me? Hey everybody, welcome to the Paranormal Pete Show, and Happy New Year to everybody. It's January 3rd, I believe, 2023, so Happy New Year. I hope everybody had a fun celebration. Again, posted on Facebook about, taking that moment with into this year, and I hope you did. Fun times for New Year's, and I hope everybody had a great holiday season. I know flights out there were messed up for so long, and so hopefully nobody had to deal with that. But I hope everybody had a nice time and had time to pause on life and reflect with being with the ones you were with. And so I hope everybody had that experience and a great holiday. We're on episode 88, I believe, here. And on WLTK-DB.com, right behind me here, if you're watching. You can catch us on all the socials under WLTK-DB. If you'd like to follow my page for the show, it's facebook.com/Paranormal Pete Show. Join the page there, and I look forward to seeing you there. And we also have a talk group, the WLTK-DB talk group. And so if you're not in there, look that up on Facebook as well. But you can catch live shows, YouTube and Facebook and a lot of places just by looking up WLTK-DB. So if you check that out live, it's always fun doing live. But if you can't catch the live show, as a reminder, we always say you can catch all the archives at the station, or if you download the station app, we have an app. Just go to your Play Store, wherever you download apps, and search WLTK-DB. You'll get the app right there, and you can catch live shows, archive shows, and a lot more. So it's a pretty handy app. While you're on the website, be sure to check out the shop if you like the station, you want to support it. A great way to support it is to wear the gear, get all the accessories, and sport it around. So be sure to check out the station shop. Big shout out to station owner Todd Bates as well. He's on the ones and twos making this whole ship run. Big thanks to him, and also a good friend of mine, Mike Beers, helped produce the show. Wishing you Happy New Year's as well. And if you like the intro music, that's my band Steady Rock Cosmonaut. The song's called Magic. And you can find us anywhere you stream music. Just look up Steady Rock Cosmonaut, and you'll find us. I hope you enjoy the music and share that as well. Speaking of Todd here, recently read his book, The Haunted Voice by Todd Bates. If you don't have a copy yet, you can go to his website. Is it toddmichaelbates.com? Maybe Todd can comment that. But you can go to his website or go to Amazon, and you can get that, or in some bookstores, I think. Anyways, check it out. Great read. It was, really drew me in, and was a great read. So if you're looking for hearing a great story, just check it out. Another friend of the show, Ross Allison, has his Parasense, The Naked Experiments documentary out, and that's going to be a documentary series, but you can get that off Amazon as well. But just look up Parasense, The Naked Experiments. Amazing idea. It's kind of pioneering in some ways in the paranormal field, where they're actually tracking touch by spirit. So that's called Parasense, The Naked Experiments. And tonight, you want to join the conversation, it's a Q&A. I got some things to talk about, but I'll take questions and hopefully have answers. And we'll talk about some experiences tonight. We're going to kind of sum up 22, getting into 2023, but I'm going to talk about some experiences I had before realizing I was a medium. So it's kind of interesting to look back on those things. And then a couple other topics, but if anybody's got questions, I will hopefully answer them, and we'll just, if you just want to say hi, that works as well. Thanks for watching. Jessica Cat says hello. Hello. Thanks for watching. Let us know where you're coming from. And Todd says yes. Okay, ToddMichaelBates.com. That's where you can get his book if you want one from him. Or just follow him on the socials, because he's always got specials going on for his book there. But yeah, join the conversation tonight. I'm excited. I've got a couple ghost walks coming up. And Jessica said she's in New Mexico. Well, hello down in New Mexico. We got ghost walks coming up. I got one, and not this weekend, but the next weekend, and I always look forward to doing those. You can go to portgambleparanormal.com and see upcoming dates and get tickets. The season goes into April, and then we'll see if I do any summer tours again this year. It was a lot of fun last year, so I may do that. But the tour is 3 hours, and I've only had one person fall asleep on an investigation once, but I think he was tired. So anyways, it's a lot of fun, a lot of information. It's a lot of history here in Little Port Gamble, Washington. And if you don't know where that's at, it's across Puget Sound from Seattle. And I've got some public investigations coming up as well. You can get everything right there on my hat here, portgambleparanormal.com. Really excited for the Oregon Ghost Conference coming up. I hope to have conference director Rocky Smith on the show soon to talk about the Oregon Ghost Conference and all the cool stuff they'll be doing there this year. It's March 24th through 26th, and you can go to OregonGhostConference.com. I'm excited to be doing a speaking presentation, and I hope people will find it interesting and fun and think about things in a different way. Then there's also the OC Paracon, Orange County Paracon, coming in for its second year in person, and they've made it 3 days instead of 2 days. So I think it's October 5th through 7th, and down in Orange County there in Anaheim. So go to ocparacon.com, and I believe Henry from Paranormal Perception, Henry San Miguel, is going to be posting some new details and stuff soon. So you'll want to stay tuned to their socials and check out Paranormal Perception while you're there. Then we've got the Port Gamble Ghost Conference. That's right, folks. Already planning for it. It's November 10th through 12th. It's Veterans Day weekend in November. So as I plan stuff, you'll see things come out. You can find all the info for the Ghost Conference here in Port Gamble at portgamble.com, and just go to the events tab. So as I said, it's a Q&A tonight. Just thought I'd kick off the year with just myself in the audience. And next week I should talk about upcoming shows. Next week, a couple shows coming up. I've got a good friend, James Honeycutt. He's a really great musician and a great person, and we're going to be talking about energy and life, and we'll play some of his tunes here on the show. So that's next week. You don't want to miss that. Really like his style of music, and just talking with him, I think his nickname is the Hillbilly Buddha. James Honeycutt's coming up. End of the month, I've got coming up psychic medium Jackie Campbell, and I met her at the OC Paracon this past October. So got some fun shows coming up for you guys. And a good friend of the show here, Mary Bethune. Hey, thanks for watching. She's coming in from YouTube as well. Yeah, go ahead and say hey if you're watching. 2022. How was that for everybody out there? I don't know. It was kind of from what I'm hearing from a lot of different people, and I feel like even myself a little bit, it was a it's kind of a challenging year. Um, People are still coming out of a pandemic and everything, and so it was just been kind of a weird year. It was a weird weather year too, which kind of, if you live in the Northwest, if you're getting, different weather than you're used to, sure you can get used to it, but I think it messes with you a little bit. And Mary's commenting what it was a weird year. Yeah, yes. That's just kind of the feel of it, right? It just kind of huh? Was it good? Was it hard? Yeah, it was weird. I kind of felt in between on the whole thing when I think about it. One thing I tried to do myself is think about some good things. You know, Family and music and work. I tried to think about the good things from the year, and when you start thinking like that, it put a little bit better spin on the year for me. But I kind of realized, oh, we should take the good from each year because let's face it, the past few years have been odd. They've been kind of just strange, right? So we need to take the good stuff from the previous year and carry that forward, but leave the challenging stuff, leave the negativity, the um, negativeness, stress, and try and leave it in that last year and build from something good, right? And I hope everybody tries to do that. I know it's not easy, easier said than done, I guess, but um, when you think about 2022, and I hope everybody had time to reflect, um, on the New Year's holiday, what did you learn? Did you learn something about yourself? Did you learn something about other people, people in general? What did you learn? Um, One thing that I kind of learned that I think probably would hit home for a lot of people was to like try and be conscious to uh, put stress aside, and do better at getting rid of it, and however and whatever way works for you. And I think everybody's a little different. We all handle stress emotionally, physically, and differently. Um, and I think it's a thing that's not always in the forefront of somebody's mind as the cause to things, the cause to this or that. And so I learned that I, for myself, have to try and chip away at that and like get rid of stress quicker. Don't let it build up. Basically, I guess that's the moral of it: is don't let it build up. Don't let stress build up, because then it becomes just a huge weight um, on your body and on your soul. Um, so that's what I learned, and I hope everybody can take a chance to um, reflect if you didn't already. Jessica's commenting, joining the conversation here. In 2022 was happy, finally getting my gifts back. Out of 15 years of my gifts being destroyed by a loved one saying what you're doing is the devil's work. Stupid me. Listened. I'm happy 2022. I finally found my gifts. And that's a great story. That's a really cool experience. That's for you to get that back and kind of feel that you can be yourself and use these gifts and develop these gifts, or however you're doing it. But that's a great thought, and I'm wondering how many other people can have that experience as well. Oh, my lovely wife Molly here. uh, Thank you as always for listening, Molly. Happy New Year. I have a question. What is one of your most interesting paranormal experiences from a time before you knew you were a psychic medium? Looking back, do you think the people around you were experiencing the same stuff, or were you just experiencing more than they were in that same location or situation? And this is a great question. There's a couple of questions there. Um, well, I was going to talk about some of those. I guess I'll jump right into it. So, I had a lot of paranormal experiences before realizing there was a lot more to this world than I could see, feel, or hear. And that was all about 9 years ago or so, almost 10 maybe, before I realized that I was a psychic medium. And so I had quite a few experiences, and the earliest one I can think of for sure that I can recall in my memory has to be driving through northern Arizona at 7 years old with my grandparents, headed down to Sedona for the summer, and seeing these two native gentlemen just appear in the middle of the road and with our backs to us, and then they turned inwards towards each other to look behind them, look towards us. And it all happened fairly fast because as soon as we saw them, my grandfather slammed on the brakes, and we reached them and they just vanished. And he recovered and kept going along and looks at me and says, you see those two old guys? And I said, yeah. And then he said, don't tell your grandmother. She was sitting next to me on the other side of me, sleeping. And so right then and there, I knew, whoa, that was something strange. Did I see a ghost? I don't know if I thought about the term ghost, but that's the earliest experience that I can remember. And the fact that it wasn't just me that saw it is just incredible thinking back to it. And for my grandpa to even comment, that's pretty amazing. Someone in his generation, probably wouldn't talk about that kind of stuff. Later, after my journey began, like about 9 years ago, that I think one of those guys I saw on the road there was my guide to facilitate my psychic awakening. And I think that's just crazy. Has anybody else, had an experience as a kid to later have a dot connected from all the way when you were a kid psychically, and for you to have that realization? That was pretty incredible. I remember being in a lot of caves down there and stuff, and being creeped out, and feeling like someone was with me, but I couldn't see anybody. All down there in Arizona. Pretty great location there. As I got a little bit older, I used to work at the Egyptian Theater in Boise, Idaho, and had just a lot of experiences. And I think this speaks more to what Molly's second question was I experiencing the same stuff as everybody else, or was I experiencing more in that same location and situation? And it's kind of hard to say. I think I probably maybe felt things more than others, but just thought it was like my conscience or something, my inner voice saying this or that. But what happened there? So the Egyptian Theater is a really cool location, and I know Big River Paranormal in Boise has investigated there numerous times. And if you haven't heard of that team, look that up, Big River Paranormal, and check out their website. We have some of their Oregon chapter on the show often here. Shout out to Jason, Go Hawks. But at the Egyptian Theater, it was built in 1913, I believe, and it was a silent theater. They would hold events there, and then it was a movie screen forever. And I worked there in the 90s, and it was really cool. We had a union projectionist. I always thought that was neat. But this place was right downtown Boise, and just right a couple blocks up from the Capitol building, there in the heart of the downtown. So it was a really cool area. It was always active, all kinds of stuff always going on there. But as far as the paranormal, that was kind of interesting because it was so. I remember, just working there everybody would experience things. Everybody would experience kind of the same things. At one point, there was some work being done, and the guys would come in basically in the middle of the night to do the work. And it was like construction, renovation, that sort of thing going on. And so they'd have to come in the middle of the night, up until the morning before the theater opened again. And so they would come in the middle of the night. And those guys, so we found a hammer in a toilet, um, which these guys always claimed that it was not them. There was a saw in a toilet one morning, which why would a guy put his own tool in a toilet and ruin it? Um, there was things, all their tools were always like in these really weird places. And whether or not they were messing with us, I'm not 100% sure. Um, but there were definitely presences there at night that we would all experience. Other than those construction guys, there was quite a bit of activity upstairs. So the office for the theater used to be up on the second floor. And at the bottom, it was like a stucco sort of, um, it was a stucco sort of finish, and in this stairwell. And so the office was on the second floor. At the bottom was this really thick steel door. It was a heavy door, really strong door. And so that one would be locked. And then you come upstairs, you find the office. And then if you were to do a 180-degree turn and walk that way, back past the stairs, you'd go into the room that was above the big marquee with all the fancy lights and everything. And it seemed like for me a nightly thing. When I was closing, there would always be people walking up and down the stairs in the stairwell, and you could really hear the footsteps because it was a very echoey stairwell. um, and I feel like, looking back on that time, that it was literally every night. If you were working till closing, you're there late, you're hearing these footsteps come up and down. Then you'd hear, wait, did I just hear a voice? Was that a sentence? Who's talking? And you'd hear these footsteps come up by the office door and turn and go towards the room above the marquee. And so that was, I I got used to it. I think everybody got used to it, but that's one of those, maybe it seemed to be like a regular thing there. Um, it seemed like every time I was working, it was going on. So I don't know if I experienced it more than others, but I know others experienced that. And when you go into the marquee room, that feeling when you just know you're not alone. That's totally what it was like in that room. I always felt like people were just staring at you. Um, Now, back then, I didn't know about electromagnetic fields and the causes that they can have on people. So I don't know about that room up there. Maybe somebody who's investigated there can chime in if there's a lot of EMF in the room that was above the marquee. But it always felt like somebody was in there with you. And Mary was commenting that someone didn't like renovations. I think so. Those contractors getting their tools left in the toilets and stuff. Yeah, somebody probably didn't like the renovations. But anyways, that marquee room, I mean, you just always felt like people were staring at you. Um, One of the more common things that I think everybody that worked there would experience is, before you close down, you always go check the back doors, emergency exits, make sure they're not propped open for some reason, or somebody's like tried to prop it open. You always go check that out. Now, this theater is huge. When it was originally built, it was a 1,600 seat theater, and then modern seats were put in, decades later, and it made it about an 800-person theater. And there's a mezzanine and everything, so it's a pretty huge place, and it looks. It's supposed to. Everything's designed after things found in like King Tut's tomb. So there's huge, pillar statues, Egyptian statues. It's a really cool place. So you're in there at night and you're going to check the back doors, and you hear one, two. maybe 3 of the theater seats pop up, like they'd been sat in, and then they stood up. And that was always creepy. Or you'd hear, I remember one time I was doing that, and I heard a, and I knew I was in there by myself. And that one creeped me out. Walking through with a flashlight, and everyone's out of there. I'm the last one in the building. I'm locking everything up, and then or hearing some of the seats squeak, as you're walking through there, as if somebody's adjusting in their seat as you walk by. That was a pretty common one. And one other thing that would happen there that was, I don't know if it's haunted or not, but it was certainly strange. So our ticket machine for the theater, like it couldn't, you couldn't just like print a blank ticket and the machine cut it for you, like cut the ticket from the next ticket. You could run blank tickets out, but then you'd have to tear it off, but it wouldn't like chop the ticket. And there was a few times where our ticket machine would like start spitting up, a blank ticket would pop up, but it would cut and then shoot up in the air. And we get, a few tickets. And this happened a few different times. We never quite figured that one out. Your guess is as good as mine, but looking back, I think it was I think there was spirits in that theater that stayed there, and that was their place. And so anyways, the ticket machine would go like haywire sometimes. So that was pretty awesome. Got a great got a comment here from my bandmate Brandon. What's up, man? Hey, I'll get to it in just a second. So another pretty big one, that a paranormal experience that happened to me, was up here in Port Gamble, and it was soon after we had moved here. And so it was my first paranormal experience in Port Gamble. Certainly not the first one in my life, but the first one in Port Gamble. And so we're working in this building, and it used to be a service station. And there's a big carriage door about halfway through the building, and that was always shut. And it was a sign shop. So in the front of the shop, we had to keep it really clean because of the equipment. And then in the back, we could do more of the cutting, sanding, painting, that kind of stuff. And so one day I was in the back. I think I cut some aluminum substrate, and I was working off a set of sawhorses, almost leaning up to the carriage door. But I was working off these sawhorses using a knife blade to clean the edges of the substrates, and realized that wasn't doing much. So I went and I got a flat metal file to kind of run over the edges of these substrates just to kind of clean it up. And that didn't work as well as I hoped. And so I walked about 6 to 8 feet away to where a 4x8 work table was there, and I set that flat file on the table there, about a foot in from the corner. And I went back to doing what I was doing with the knife blade, and then all of a sudden there's a big whack on the carriage door, and then a ding on the floor, and I felt something graze my pant leg. Well, I looked down, and there's a file on the floor, and no file on the table anymore that was 6 to 8 feet away. Left a mark in the carriage door, kind of dented the wood it hit with some force. And this is all before realizing that I am a psychic medium. So I couldn't explain, how did that flat metal file travel 8 feet, 6 to 8 feet, and hit the door before hitting the ground. I could see if maybe it fell off the table and hit the ground and like launched itself. I could see that happening, but not traveling 8 feet, hitting the door first and then the ground. So that was a pretty good one. That was my first experience here in Port Gamble, as I had started hearing about all the stories and everything here. It was before I started investigating, before doing tours, any of that kind of stuff. So there's some experiences that I can think of offhand. There might be more. We're going to be taking a station break here on WLTK-DB.com. And on the second half of the show, we'll talk about some more topics. And we'll get to Brandon Brown's comment here, which I think is going to be a good one we can dive into a little bit. But if you have questions for me about investigating, mediumship, whatever, I will do my best to answer, but join the conversation here on WLTK-DB.com on the Paranormal Pete Show. I'm your host, Peter Orbea. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Want to see your video here? Sponsor WLTK-DB Talk Radio and watch us make that happen. With your paid sponsorship of $80, you receive a professional produced audio, video, and banner placement on our station. Not only does your sponsorship air during our live shows, but also replayed on our podcast and heard by hundreds of like-minded people. Visit WLTK-DB.com to get started and find out just how hard we work to get you noticed.
Welcome back to the Paranormal Pete Show. I'm your host, Peter Orbea, and tonight is Q&A / I'm talking about some experiences, and I got some interesting questions, I think, for you guys. Before the break, I was sharing some experiences before realizing psychic mediumship gifts, and kind of looking back on them and wondering if I was experiencing more than other people. I don't know if I totally answered that, but I feel like it's hard to say, but I feel like I was feeling things more. I remember there was always a pit in my stomach when these things were going on. And now I know what that feeling is. That's energy. Looking back, I know that to me, when I'm feeling that, or, 1,000 butterflies all of a sudden take off, in your stomach, to me, that's energy. And I know a lot of people feel energy that way. So interesting looking back, and maybe I was feeling more, or hearing or sensing more, but it's hard to say. We were young college kids. But Brandon's got a great question here. I seem to only have paranormal experiences when I am asleep, dreams that feel more than dreams, talking to those that have passed matter-of-factly about their death and how I miss them, etc. When I was young and a few times in adulthood, I have sleepwalked. Every time I do, I can recall being amongst the deceased. It only happened in places that are known to be heavy in spirit activity, while I only find out after the fact. Is there a name for that? Psychic connection only when asleep. And crazy experiences, Brandon. I would just call it, I think it's just psychic dreaming. But the fact that you're communicating back and forth with them, that's more mediumship than just psychic. So maybe there's a name out there. Mary's commenting lucid dreaming or astral travel. That could be too. So Brandon, do you feel yourself go somewhere in these dreams? When you go to wake up, is it like you shoot back in your body and you have that, everyone's had that where you jolt in bed? If you have a dream, you're falling through the sky and just before you hit, your body jolts. Do you have any of that? I don't know if you can answer, if you're still watching. That astral travel, that's an interesting idea about it. Okay, major jolt. Okay, says yes, major jolt. Okay. So, yeah, psychic dreaming, but it sounds like you're traveling somewhere. And you're walking amongst the deceased. Is it all people you know, or or is it random? Is there, what you would say is the public, in these places, or is it just people you know? See if we can niche down on this here. But it's interesting that he experiences a major jolt. Does anyone watching that does astral travel, or maybe you're not sure if you do it, are you having that experience as well, where you're like basically you're falling back into your body, and so you get that whoa, that big jolt. You wake up that adrenaline rush, right? Um, that to me says like astral travel. So Brandon's responding to places I see than usually where I'm at. Okay. Well, that's interesting too. That maybe it's like physically you're not you can't leave, so you're there, but you're out of your body. And it's interesting with the sleepwalking too. I'm wondering if there's some studies on um, astral travel and sleepwalking. Um, are there correlations? You know, um, it's crossover. Brandon says it's almost always people I know, but a few times it was deformed type ghostly figures. Okay, so it's mostly people you know. Some things maybe you don't know. Um, know that you can always, the ones you don't know that creep you out, don't want you around, you can always protect yourself from them and tell them to go away, make the rules. I know this is probably a lot easier said than done because you're dreaming. Um, but Brandon, I would research astral travel and what is it like to astral travel. Um, I feel like I've done it. Um, Especially sleeping. I get that big jolt a lot too, or when like um, falling back into my body or coming out of it too. Where does anybody have those dreams where you just jump and it's like as far and as high as you want to go. You just jump, poof, like a Superman jump. You can go as far as you want. I think that's like you're exiting and you're traveling. And then when you're coming back, it's if you don't control it, you get that falling and fall back into your body. But Brandon, I would look up astral travel and psychic dreaming. Um, but I think it's interesting that he's talking with them as well. Does anybody else have this type of experience where you're dreaming and you're seeing people you know? Uh, you know, is it family members? Is it friends? Or is it just randos, random people? Um, Interesting. That's really interesting, and I think that Brandon and other people having these kind of experiences, like you need to maybe find like a space you can go when you're awake, and maybe try and visualize that same space and see if you can have an experience doing that. Um, Mary's got a great comment here. You can set your intention before you sleep in astral. I remember leaving my body and slamming back in, but always knew where and who I was with. Interesting as well. And so I'm wondering, Mary, do you get to choose who you're with? What do you think? Um, Great comment, though. Yeah, you can set your intention, but like for Brandon, it's always where he's at. So maybe um, for him, it's if he wants to try and get more answers, learn more about it. I don't know if you do or not, but if you want to learn more about it, maybe it's like you need to try and like sit there and visualize yourself in your own space, right? When this is going on, it's as if you're where you're at. That's the location that you have technically traveled to. So visualize the space around you. Shut your eyes. Visualize everything you can that is around you. Visualize, what are you wearing? How are you sitting? Is there, a cup next to your chair? Is there a TV remote? Where's the dog? Where's the cat? Visualize all that stuff. And, you might be able to kind of recreate that when you're awake and conscious, and then you can write about it. You can write down who you saw, what you talked about, what you felt, and start doing that. I don't know if you want to open that up, but that is something you could do there. Um, Mary was saying sometimes. Okay, that was to the question: can you choose who you astral travel with? And I think maybe it comes back to how focused you are in setting your intention and what you're wanting to accomplish. I think that's a big key of it is setting that intention. Same thing with going on an investigation with a team to um, the Walker Ames house here in Port Gamble, or any famous haunted place. You got to set your intention and know why you're doing it too. Especially for paranormal investigation, know why you're doing it, and always point to that compass on why you're doing it, and that can help guide you with that kind of stuff. But um, astral travel, that's such a fun thing. But anyways, so Brandon could maybe visualize his face. How many, I know a lot of people out there are having awakenings and experiencing things. I went through the same thing. Um, and if you want to open up, if you want to try and explore this more, how do you do that? How do you get started doing that? And maybe you've taken a couple classes, and hopefully you do. Find a class in your local area and check out reviews and stuff like that too. But maybe you need, how do you get that going? How do you open that up? Well, you got to find the right space uh, for your spirit, for your soul to open up. You got to find that right space. And it changes. It's not always the same space, but how do you find that right space? And I was just talking about an example for Brandon there. Visualize finding that right place. What's the first place you think of? So right now, everybody that's watching and listening right now, I'm going to count down from 3 to 1, and I want you to visualize a place, whatever it is, wherever it is. It could be totally random. It could be some science fiction-y type place, some made-up location. But I'm going to count down from 3, and then think of a place. Okay, so 3, 2, 1. Where are you at? Okay, now hold that thought. Hold that location in your mind. You had a glimpse of it, right? You were able to maybe have a glimpse of it. Was it a city street? Were you in a field? Are you on the ocean on a boat? Um, you got your feet up next side, lakeside somewhere, a nice calm lake. Hold that location. Think about it. You've got that visualization now. You've got a general picture of this place, right? So now you want to start finding any sort of details you can. Let's say I'm on a city street. Does it smell bad? Sorry, that's the first thing I thought of. Does it smell bad? Are cars honking? Do you hear somebody yelling profanities? Start looking around in this location. Hold that in your mind. Hold that visualization. What's around you? Are there trees? What kind of trees? Can you tell if it's fall by the kind of tree, or winter, or what season it is? Is it hot? Is it cold there? I think right now everyone's thinking about warm places. It'd be great. Um, where are you at? Where did you go? Okay, that's going to be your starting place, guys. That's something you can take with you today. Um, so hold that space, and then tomorrow or next time that you want to try it out, go right back to that place, because you should be able to recall it up, find more details, keep niching down on all those details of this place, and don't be afraid if the place changes. If you go back in a week and you try and do this, um, and it's a different place, that's okay. Try and get a good, more detailed, a more details, you know, in the visualization, colors, people. And once you can get into this space and you can visualize it, you might realize everything else you were thinking of is kind of gone away, and you're there in that moment, in this place in your mind. That's when things can kind of open up. That's when you may see somebody, like Brandon was saying, it's almost always somebody he knows. Well, is it somebody you know that you see? Where do you go from there? Do you invite them over? Say hello. Who is it? Do you know the person? What's their name? Ask them why they're there. And that's a way that you can open up and be able to also just ground and center yourself. If you can get to this space, that's probably an even better part of it. Is just a daily thing that you can do is for just a minute and go into this place and look at all the details, let everything else wash away. It's a good way to just kind of cleanse yourself. Remember earlier when I was talking about if you don't get rid of stress quickly, it builds up. This could be a way for you to get rid of stress, and something I will be doing more myself too. So it's not just, um, it's for everybody. I hope that you can try that. Go to a place, go to a space to open yourself up to learning about yourself and energy, and hopefully that helps ground you, gets rid of negativity. But finding the right place is kind of hard because we overthink everything. Um, so yeah. Um, so Jessicat's got a few comments here. Um, says, yesterday I had my spirit show me something unexpected. They show me someone I have on Facebook. Their daughter is getting sexually abused. So I did post it on Facebook, and someone came through that her daughter doesn't want to be here near her father. So the spirit showed you this sort of thing. And I would say that that was would be unexpected because the spirit showed me details where the bed is located in the entrance to her room and gave me the name of the little girl. Well, I delivered the message, but I don't know if I did good. And you did what you thought was right. I would say that. Spirit, I think, can show you some very unexpected things at the most unexpected moments. And so, if you felt this was what Spirit was leading you to do, um, that you could have helped in some way. So, but you followed your gut, and maybe it was something like that. Maybe talk to somebody else, get somebody, um, you know, somebody else who's dealt with that sort of thing. They might be able to kind of guide you on what to do, because it's sometimes you see some hard things. I know in readings I've done, I've seen um, some hard realities, and you just kind of have to. You can gently say the things. You can maybe try and describe the situation, or what the outcome was, or what the feelings that were had, instead of saying details, that sort of thing. But that's a tough situation there, um, and it looks like she got some validation on some of that stuff. So hopefully that helps those people. Hopefully that may explain some things, or might be a cog in the wheel to helping them. Mary's asking, how do you deal with flashes of visions and messages? Well, I don't know if it's like this for everybody that does mediumship, but it's all flashes. Mostly, mostly it's all, um, mostly it's all flashes and messages that you can get from the flashes. Um, can you expand on that a little bit, Mary? Is it like certain kinds of visions, messages? I mean, if it's just coming in randomly and I don't know what it's for, maybe don't know who it's for, I kind of just will. I guess, let it do its thing, and then I move on. If I'm trying to help somebody out in a reading, um, I try my best to just say what I'm seeing, or I'll try and draw it, even though I don't have art skills to save my life. Um, write it down, write it down. So I guess that's one thing I would just say, and we talk about it on the show a lot, is to um, you know, write things down, write it all down. Mary's adding on, mostly during messages, they seem to be disconnected. So that to me sounds like, everything's going so fast and fleeting. Seems like it's coming from your right, coming from your left, coming from your right, straight ahead. Um, you just kind of, I'm, we're always learning. I'll say that. I think psychics are always learning how to adapt to that. And so it's a learning process. Some people have found a way that works for them, and it's consistent and solid. But the best, I guess, what I do is just try and write it out and say what I see or hear or feel. Like I said, sometimes I'll try and draw. If it's like an object or something that's kind of flashing in and out of other images, I'll try and maybe draw the object, see what colors it is. Why is this spirit showing me this object? But I guess you just practice. You just kind of learn, and it's kind of I don't know, it's a moving target, I guess. So the best way to deal with it is just keep chasing it. I hope that makes sense, Mary. Exactly. I don't know if it was to that, but um, yeah, interesting question. How do you do it? It all is, for me, a lot of times it's very fast moving and fleeting, and flash of this, flash of that. I often describe messages sometimes as like 20 different movies playing on top of each other, and you get a piece from this one, and you get a piece from this next one, you get a piece from this one over here. But that's just me. That's you know um, I think other people experience get things that way too, but I've just learned that that's how it's worked for me now. Hopefully in 5 years it'll be something different. Just can't say yes like a movie. Yeah, it is. It's And then the 20 movies. What gets me a lot is trying to get a spirit to open up. They're there. There's a message, but there may not. It's not easily. It doesn't come easily, and so that's always kind of interesting too. And that's where things aren't so flashy, I guess. That's when there's spirit's not trying to show you something or communicate something. They're just there. Then it's less flashy. Um, as opposed to them trying to show you a photograph or something. They'll show you all these memories, all these different things associated with that, all these feelings, everything associated with whatever they're trying to get across. And um, so, and I might be hard of hearing too. I don't know. Too much loud music. But great questions. Another great one here from Molly. Thank you, Molly. Um, by the way, folks, I wouldn't be who I am today without this gal right here. She asks, are you able to go back to one of those flashes and get more details? Or once they go, they go? Awesome question. You can go back. I think you can go back. So a lot of times when you have an intense reading, for sure, like an intense one, um, somebody was holding on to something, like it can get pretty heavy. Like if you can recall that feeling, and not a flash, but if you can recall that feeling, it's almost like a speed dial right back to it, and you can almost grab right back onto that signal, if you will, those feelings, that energy, and you're kind of right back there. Well, something that's more flashy, I think, is the same way. If you could recall what that looked like, how it flashed to you, and I think we're using the term flash as just a catch-all for things moving, coming in and out, as far as visions and messages. I think it can work the same as the feeling. So if you can recall, a lot of mediums don't remember what comes out in their readings. Or you may remember for a couple, 3 weeks, and then it just kind of it goes away. But which is one cool thing for like taking notes, because you can go back, like with some of my repeat clients, I've had to go back and be like, oh, I remember, okay, I was feeling this, and then it jarred up that memory, and I was able to get right back. So yes, once they go. No, I think if you can recall that flash, that piece of energy that was given to you, I think if you can recall that, everything about it, you're right there back with it. That's a great question. And it especially works for feelings, I think. Great question. Just cats here. Pete, this year will be already seeing spirit in front of us. LOL. Right now we see it in a picture like that in TV, but soon we'll get better. Keep trying, keep practicing. That's all you can do if you're interested in psychic work and you've had some things going on. You just gotta work at it. The more you put into it, the more you get out of it. Just like anything in life, right? Same thing goes for this sort of thing. But well, this is about wraps up the show. Unless anybody else has any other questions, but I really appreciate the conversation and kind of where it went. And Brandon, don't forget to look up astral travel. So awesome drummer. He's in the band. I'm not biased or anything. SteadyRockCosmonaut.com. But I'll see you guys next week. And if you haven't checked out all the shows, I haven't even been able to check out all the new shows on this station. I think there's 25 shows now. And so if you guys haven't checked out others, I'm sure you've checked out a few. Keep looking. There's a lot of great content. New shows coming out. There's new shows coming out this month. So wow. It's cool to be a part of this whole thing and to be able to talk to you guys every week and to bring on amazing guests that take time out of their day to go on shows and to come onto this show. And it's really cool to be a part of this whole thing, and everybody that watches every week and supports the station. I think this is going to be a fun ride with this station to see where it goes. So check out all the shows, comment on their shows, check out the pages. Thank you, Mary. Thanks for watching. Thank you, Jessica. Appreciate it. Keep working at it. And everybody out there, just want to wish you a great rest of this week and a happy new year again. As we get into 23 here, which Michael Jordan's number. So I think it's going to be a great year. Thanks, Brandon. Valerie says hi too. Hey, Valerie, thanks for watching. And happy new year to the Orbans. A happy new year to you guys too. I'll be back next week, guys, with musician, and I'm going to say energy guy, James Honeycutt. I've got Jackie saying hello. Hey, Jackie. Jackie's going to be on at the end of this month. Stay tuned for that. Psychic medium. I met her at the Orange County Paracon down in Anaheim this last year. So I'm excited to have her on at the end of the month. And again, happy New Year's to everybody. Wishing everybody a great week. Be positive where you can. It's a new year, right? New outlook. Less stress, more positivity, but be present. Be there with the ones you're with. Hug the ones you're with. High five everyone else. And be safe out there. We'll see you next week on the Paranormal Pete Show right here on WLTK-DB.com. Happy New Year, guys.
The truth is here and now on WLTK-DB Talk Radio at WLTK-DB.com.